Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Jazz Like Sugar 7209 and says, my husband is best friends with his ex-wife. And before we do get into this story, there are some trigger warnings on the story that I want to let you know beforehand. It contains talk of miscarriage, sexual assault, and abortion as well. So if you do want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. My husband, 36 male, and I, 34 female, have been married for 8 years, together for 14. And we have a 4-year-old daughter that is our whole life. He'd been married before with Eliza, his best friend. They married at 18 and lasted 2 years and divorced. They remained best friends, and when we started dating, Eliza, my husband's other best friend Jack, and my husband were a tight-knit. Eliza was one of the bros, and I was always the girlfriend, and later the wife, always an outsider. His 2 friends are single, so our house was always a place to crash. Even since we moved in together, they would show up unannounced and do their own thing, while I made snacks and full meals. For the first year, I tried my best to integrate into their clique, but it never worked out. It was always awkward, and I felt I was inserting myself where I didn't belong, so I stopped trying and relegate myself to be a great host and let them do their things. I didn't notice at first, but over the years, resentment has built. I feel like a 50s housewife serving drinks and lighting cigarettes to men. My husband on his own is amazing and I love him. He's been a great partner and my best friend during this 14 years. Problem is, I'm not his best friend. Eliza is. Every single thing that happens in our life has to be discussed and analyzed with Eliza. Early in our relationship, I got pregnant. I took the test early in the night and we were really scared. Despite this, he was so reassuring with me, holding me the whole night and told me he was ready to do whatever I wanted to do. I said I need to really think about it. Next day, we went to our classes and agreed to lunch together. When we met, he asked me how I was and all, then told me he contacted a doctor who did abortions. It was illegal back then. I asked how he found one so fast when he wasn't sure what to do. Answer, he called Eliza early in the morning and she had a friend. I felt so betrayed because this was something that belonged to me, and he went and shared it with someone else. Not just someone else, it's Eliza. Come on, he said. During the next days, every time I saw him, he has new information from Eliza and Eliza's friend. I was so confused and scared, and Eliza convinced my boyfriend we needed to do it fast because it would be easier. There was so much pressure, I agreed. Long story short, it was a rat hole doctor office and I almost died there. To this day, I don't know if I should have kept the baby or not, but better not think about it. When my boyfriend proposed, Eliza was fake mad. He didn't say first to her he was going to propose to me. The only way to placate her was to have her as a best man, despite my husband having a male best friend. Every little or major event in our life turns into, yeah, I'm going to tell Eliza now, you know how she gets. I was sexually assaulted as a child and told this to my husband. He was the first person I talked to about it. Months later, Eliza and I were alone in our kitchen and she started talking about something she heard in the news about a girl being raped by a family member, and then hugged me. When I started to try for a child and I got pregnant, I asked my husband to keep this for us for a little. It was Wednesday. Sunday, when I saw Eliza, she congratulated me. I ended up miscarrying. I started to look for a doctor to help me deal with my depression. Again, something I wanted to keep for myself. Eliza was so understanding. When I was pregnant with my daughter, Eliza came full of advice on things I should do. I told her to mind her business, which really hurt her feelings. I stood my ground and told my husband I wasn't going to raise my kid with Eliza and didn't want to hear any advice from her. This was a big fight with my husband because I was rude and Eliza was family and already considered herself an auntie. This had been the only time I'd given an ultimatum to my husband. Eliza better keep herself away from my motherhood or I will leave. Now resentment has reached a point where I don't want her near me or my house or my husband. I feel she is more married to my husband than I. My whole life feels like I live best friends to lover drama. I'm not sure why I'm writing this. Probably because I'm alone in a coffee shop thinking I want my husband to be my husband. and not feel like a lame love interest in someone else's epic love story. In the past, my husband thought I was being childish. Despite loving him, I can't keep being married like this. I don't feel like I can trust to talk to him again without involving Eliza. I don't want to hold an ultimatum. So the first commenter said to OP, wow, that's a really heavy one. Have you confronted him when he told us stuff you wanted between you two? OP said, yes, I did. He always acts like it's just Eliza. I need to talk it out with someone. He needed support, outside perspective, to vent. Another commenter says, well, you almost died because Eliza recommended a quack for your abortion. Honestly, I don't know. Probably an ultimatum would work, but you said you don't want to give him one. Maybe couples therapy? Either that or divorce. You seem to be at the end of the rope. P.S. Has Eliza been seeing someone all this time? Were they alright with her connection with your husband? OP says, before I had my daughter, I gave him an ultimatum of either he and Eliza respected my motherhood and she kept her opinions to herself, or we were done. I don't want to just keep giving ultimatums to keep my marriage. Honestly, I don't even know if counseling would work because I don't think he sees a problem, so he'd probably go and have a drink with her and tell her about the counseling. Another commenter replies saying, exactly. Seems like OP wasted her time being the third wheel in her own relationship and ultimately her marriage. Giving ultimatums and then not following through is just a waste of words. Another commenter says, yeah, he knows she won't do anything, so he's not going to change. Commenter replies to that saying, yep, that's why it's been 14 years and she's pretty much the side chick. Just how her and Eliza like it. She stomps her feet and they laugh at her or completely ignore her and go back to their little bubble. Then the cycle repeats. OP should have left around the time of the abortion. The writing was on the wall in big, bold, capitalized letters. OP replies saying, for the last 14 years, every time I express how I don't like our private life to be shared with outsiders, he downplays it as needing to talk about, to vent. His friends are his close family. They wouldn't never judge. But I'm just here if he needs to vent or whatever. Then it comes like I want to isolate him. I don't want to isolate him from people he cares about. I want to share my problems, our problems, with him and only him. This past 14 years, I've been thinking maybe I'm crazy and possessive. Maybe I'm toxic for not understanding how a strong friendship is. It's only because now resentment has built, because I started to see myself as annoying characters between the two main characters. I feel so down. I'd given everything into my marriage. OP on why her husband and Eliza divorced in the first place. They married very young at 18, after dating for 3 months. Their relationship was very intense in a good way at first, but then in a bad way. They divorced 2 years later and discovered they were better off as friends. So it was about a month after that post, OP came in with her first update and said, I'm going to start saying how thankful I am to everybody that showed grace on my last post. This isn't the happy update. If anything, welcome to the pity, angsty train. After writing my post and reading how most people felt about it, my head was full of doubts and sadness. Your opinion isn't a surprise since most of my friends and family have voiced the same at some point. I guess I'm too slow and need to be punched harder to understand. A few days after my post, I took a pregnancy test and it was positive. Having a large family is what we always wanted. And ever since my abortion, I was left with a feeling of having empty arms. So holding my daughter in my arms was like feeling whole again. And no, I need to grow my arms even more to hold my new baby too. But after the initial happiness, an ugly feeling started to grow in my stomach. I didn't want Eliza in our life. It felt like taking my innocent glasses out and I was able to see her. Like really see her. How every smile was so damn fake. Every compliment was always mean-spirited or kinda a self-compliment. Nice potato salad, it was great. Oh, remember, to my husband, that potato salad I made, it was kind of unbelievable, blah blah blah. Or, nice outfit. I love how confident you are. I can't leave the house without making sure my outfit is flawless. Her reaction to my first pregnancy, wedding, travels, my second pregnancy, buying a house, how everything that should have been between my husband and I always included her. Like if our life was a play and she should write and direct. On our first Christmas together, she came when we were decorating and with all his positive critics. I ended sitting in a corner drinking wine while she and my husband decorated. She is always here, and by here I mean in my life. She has a say in everything in my life, to the point when my husband voices his opinion, I can say when these are his words and when they're Eliza's. I'm not saying that since I wrote that last post everybody turned into ultimate evils, but thinking and rethinking about my life with my husband, I'd always been a passive character. It's like my husband got himself a pet, and he and Eliza are going to be endgame when they both realize they never stop loving each other. Some of you, as my sister, will say I'm dormant. I guess I am. I've let this go on for so long that it's become normal. My life isn't bad. My husband hasn't been a bad husband. Eliza isn't so bad if the bar is that she hasn't tried to kill me yet. I know it's clear to all of you, but to me, it's been my life for years, my day-to-day. I learned to look away and make me small, so I don't make others uncomfortable. Maybe because I'm pregnant and hormonal, but I'm tired of this. I love my husband, but I feel he can't love fully with Eliza whispering in his ear, and him running like a golden retriever to please her. So after all that thinking and rethinking, I sat my husband down and told him we needed to set some strong boundaries because our marriage was working, and I didn't feel loved or respected like a wife or even as a person. I explained more or less what I said here. My husband denied everything and tried to explain himself, saying Eliza was like a sister to him. I say even siblings have boundaries. It was back and forth, with him making me doubt if maybe I was in fact trying to control who was or wasn't in his life, wanting to monitor his friendships, and even joked if he will need to sly away to have a drink with his buds. For a moment, I feel like maybe I was in fact crazy, but I was firm and stood my ground. If he wanted to keep this marriage, Eliza needs to be gone from our life. At first, I thought low contact was good, but seeing his reaction, I knew that wasn't going to be enough. Maybe I wouldn't be seeing Eliza, but he certainly will do, and I'd be antagonized and mocked. Honestly, knowing this made me realize my marriage was over. So I asked important questions and pressed what his real feelings were. Why they divorced if they were so into each other? Why not leave me? Did he love Eliza more than me? Why? What is that I don't have and she does that make her impossible to leave? In summary, he loves her, but he loves me. He doesn't understand how. Both of us bring something he doesn't want to miss. He's not sure if he wants a life with Eliza like the one we have, a marriage, a family, but she is his soulmate. They divorced because between them there was so much fire that they were burning each other. With me, he has calm, peace, and a loving place to come back to. He has never cheated, but admits he sometimes fantasizes with her being me and me being her. They often talk about them having this life, but agree that being together would break their bond. All fucked up. I know it's kinda obvious to you all on my first post, and it should have been obvious to me. But hearing my husband saying he loves another woman that is his soulmate, and he put her in the center of our life, made her an auntie to our daughter and some kind of sister-in-law to me, a supposed family friend. I'm not gonna lie, it broke me. I threw myself on the floor and hugged his legs and asked him what I need to do to him to love me, only me. I felt so pathetic, but I believed everything was worth it to save something with so much value like my marriage. I cried and cried and cried, and the hardest part was to hear there was nothing that I could do. All this, I know isn't some shocking news. To me, my life is falling apart. The only thing holding me up are two little hands that hug me every night, and the small bean in my belly. We haven't discussed anything legal yet. He left the house and my sister and mum are staying with us for now. The top commenter on that update, we have another update shortly, says he's a selfish, cruel man. She is just as equally horrible. He used you and kept her around and she played along with it. He says he sees her as a sister, but then says he fantasizes about her being you and you being her. Both cannot be true at the same time. She is either a sister to him or he wants her to be his wife. All he does is lie. He was living his best life and got everything he wanted. He has cheated. Maybe not physically, doubt it, but emotionally he has. You deserve to find someone who truly loves you and chooses you every single time, not someone who has another choice. You were their little doll to play with. You gave him all these wonderful things so she didn't have to. But she gets the perks of being your husband's girlfriend without ever having to get pregnant or do any hard labor in a marriage. I'm so sorry. The next commenter said to OP, while you're going through this transition, Do not share details with him that you don't want Eliza to be privy to. Talk with your sister and your mother. Don't tell him about the baby until you're ready for her to also know. Invest the love you had for him back into yourself and your babies. Eliza doesn't want him. She wants the power in your relationship and the control. He's going to come crawling back to the family you built for him. Don't let him. So, around a month and a half later after that post, Opie updated again and said hopefully this is going to be my last update, but not the end for me. Thanks again to everybody that sent me enough messages or replied to my last 2 posts. To clarify a few things, people have guessed, yes, I'm South American. I live in a very religious country and was raised Catholic. Even if I don't follow any religion now and consider myself atheist, some things are just too deep in our brains. Also, yes, I grew up seeing my mum crying over my dad's multiple affairs. I always thought I would never let something like that happen to me, but oops. Luckily, I started seeing a therapist and will heal a lot of things. One of the very first things I started to discuss with my therapist was my abortion and how deeply that hurt me and how big the impact was on my mind. And yes, some of you guessed well. After the abortion, I was determined to get something good out of a very traumatic event. Since I loved my then boyfriend so much, maybe our relationship could get stronger and better, and I fought hard for that. And after a time, it was more of a, have I suffered so much for this relationship just to lose it over this one thing? No. And later, it was just, this is my life, go to sleep and get over the pain. Now I realize how alike that was to my mum's mindset, was well forgiving my dad. But since I was getting physically cheated, it never crossed my mind I was doing the same thing. Now, on my husband and I, we're getting a divorce. I put on my big girl pants and went to talk to him again. I promised myself and my children I would never beg for someone to love, and my children wouldn't have to grow believing that something is worth more than loving and respecting yourself. Okay, so I went to talk to him. Mostly I went to say I wanted a divorce and that's all. At first I wanted to write all the things he did that hurt me and how much they hurt, but what's the point? Communication time is over for us as a couple. He was all shocked and then teary because he didn't want to divorce. He tried to convince me to take more time to think. Then he tried to negotiate what I needed for this to work, what I wanted and what he was willing to do. He was so generous to offer to take some distance from Eliza to work on our stuff. I laughed like a maniac because, in a mind-blown emoji, he said our family means everything to him. Our daughter, our new baby. I was something he valued so much. I was the heart of his family, and he will always love me and be thankful for all I gave to him. This hurts because, yeah, he doesn't see me like a woman or his wife. I'm the mother of his children. I'm the one who takes care of him and his house, and he's thankful. It was a long talk, but it was mostly the same thing again and again. In the end, he proposed me to keep the house, stay married because his job has a lot of great benefits and I should use them all even if we weren't together. He could cover all expenses and we could live in different houses. In the end, he reluctantly agreed to divorce. I'm working now on establishing new boundaries. I agree we should keep it friendly because we have 2 kids to co-parent, and since he doesn't have a place to live yet, he could hang out with our daughter in our home, take her to the park, etc. But then he was showing up unannounced in our house, cook for himself and act like he still lived there. I was getting really uncomfortable. I asked for his keys prior, but he said he wanted to keep the keys for emergencies only. One day I snapped to either give me the keys back or I will change the locks. Again, he was all teary because this was still his home. I said it wasn't anymore, so no more hanging out here. Now I'm thinking it's best to sell this house and find something new that can be mine and the kids' home only. As for Eliza, some of you will be happy to know that they aren't together. He isn't staying with her, and for all I know, she has distanced herself from him. Maybe she only liked him when he was in a relationship. Or now her power trip is over, she isn't interested. He's pretty heartbroken, his absolute best friend isn't with him now. Like really heartbroken. I know this because a mutual friend told me, and when he comes to pick up our daughter, he seems in a bad shape. He's unkempt and has lost some weight and always looks so tired. My pregnancy is doing fine, as you might have guessed, I'm not interrupting it, so between a divorce and having a baby this year, I will have a very eventful year. That's all I guess. And there were some top comments on that one saying, sending hugs, good on you. I wanted to say that in your post you said that you're pushing for divorce because you want to teach your children about loving and respecting themselves. And I think that is so honorable. Opie says, yeah, I also want to teach myself about loving and respecting myself. A commenter says he's an idiot. Put his ex above you and his children just to get burned by her. She never wanted him. She just loved the control she had on him. OP said, it's a shame. I won't be able to know exactly what happened between them and their fallout. I'm distancing myself from that drama, but I would love to know, like the big gossiper I am. A commenter said, I'm so happy for you. The idea of a different house is good. You can also just change all the locks. Build a social support group for yourself. Build distance with your ex. Limit interactions. Wish you all the best. OP says, I think the new house will be the best without any sad memory, just a fresh start. Also, I want to live closer to my mum and sister since I'll be needing their help. And the last commenter said, so your stupid ex lost you to keep his side piece, and now his side piece left him. What a dumbass. And it very much did feel like those comments were saying it was about some sort of control from Eliza, because soon as she had the opportunity, soon as the divorce was on the table, she bailed out as well. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.